Hey, coworkers.
Welcome to Coworkers in Crime, the podcast where office chatter meets crime discussion.
I'm Rachel.
And I'm Krystal.
Yes, we really do work together.
And yes, we're totally obsessed with true crime.
From water cooler whispers to cold case deep dives,
We're here to bring you stories that keep us chatting way past our coffee breaks.
so grab your coffee.
Lock your desk drawer, and let's get into this week's case.
There's a well in eastern Belgium, a simple rainwater well, the kind you pass without a second glance. But in September of 1991, a farmer walked past it and saw something that didn't belong. A shape, a color, a human form. A woman, no name, no documents, no one looking for her. And 100 miles away, in a German forest, another woman was found, burned, her identity erased with fire. And in the Netherlands, a young woman, maybe a teenager, left in the woods near Tetteringen. No one knew who she was, and no one came forward. These aren't isolated tragedies. They're part of a pattern that stretches across Europe, a pattern so troubling that in 2023, Interpol did something it had never done before. It made parts of its black notices public, not for fugitives, not for suspects, but for the dead. 22 women at first, then more. 46 unidentified women across Belgium, Germany, the Netherlands, France, Italy, and Spain. Some murdered, some abandoned, some erased. And the question that crosses every border, how does a woman disappear so completely that even her name is lost?
Today, we're diving into one of the most haunting initiatives in modern policing, Interpol's Identify Me campaign.
A cross-border effort to give names back to women who were found dead some decades ago with no identity, no family contact, and no answers.
We're focusing on 3 cases that show the full spectrum of this crisis.
And we're exploring the bigger question. Why do so many unidentified women appear across Europe? And why are their identities the first thing erased?
I will say, Rachel, it's a big nod to you that we're still going through Interpol in Norway, because we have had some questions about the Norway cases. So I love that we're just going to stay in this string for a while because it's so interesting what's happening out there. Very crazy.
I just can't believe how many cases there are that
Yeah.
have the same unidentified people, no identities. I really thought that those were 2 isolated cases and it wasn't going to be easy to find any similar ones. But when I did a search, because I was like, I wonder if there are more that are similar to those 2 cases that we did earlier this season. And yeah, there are. There are a lot of cases.
Not only that, but that they had to open up their identify information, open up information they don't normally do because they needed help identifying these women. That is wild to me. So yeah, I'm excited to go through this.
It is. All right, so our first one that we're going to look at is the woman in the well. September 3rd, 1991, a farmer in the Belgian town of Westorp notices something unusual in a rainwater well. Inside is the body of a woman, estimated to be between the ages of 30 and 55. She had been dead for weeks. No ID, no missing person match, and no one reported her gone. Interpol's case file describes her clothing, her jewelry, her physical features, but nothing that leads to a name. And Belgian police believe she was murdered.
Something that stands out is how ordinary the discovery site is. It's a well, not a remote mountain, not a border crossing, a place someone chose because it was close, convenient, and quiet.
So how does someone vanish so completely that even a murder leaves no trail?
And why was she placed in a well? A place meant to hide, not to be found.
Interpol's public release of her case in 2023 was a plea. Someone, somewhere, must recognize her.
But more than 30 years later, she still remains a woman without a name.
And when Interpol launched Identify Me, it wasn't because of one case. It was because police in Belgium, Germany, and the Netherlands noticed something disturbing.
I got some chills.
They noticed. You're like, yeah.
It's weird to see.
They noticed a pattern.
Yeah, it's weird to see, though, that they had to have a whole Identify Me campaign to put out just so these women could be found. And it's so far stretched across that all these countries come together and decide this is what we're doing. I don't know why that gives me the heebie-jeebies, that everyone had to work together to identify these women. Ugh.
But they're doing it, which is the important part.
Yeah. I can't imagine us doing that. think we need to, but um, so let's talk about what black notices are. Before we go too far, we should explain something that's at the heart of this entire initiative. It's known as a black notice.
So Interpol issues different color of notices for different purposes. Red notices are the ones most people may be familiar with. Those are for fugitives. Yellow notices are for missing persons. Blue notices are for gathering information about someone connected to a crime.
But black notices are different. They're issued when a country needs help identifying a deceased person, someone whose name, nationality, or background is unknown.
And here's the important part about black notices: they are not normally public. They're shared only between law enforcement agencies across Interpol's 196 member countries.
But in 2023, Interpol did something unprecedented. According to both Interpol's official release and BBC reporting, they made parts of these black notices public for the first time.
They released photos of jewelry, tattoos, clothing, facial reconstructions, anything that might help someone somewhere recognize these women.
It was a global appeal, a recognition that traditional investigation channels just weren't enough.
And it worked. Interpol reported more than 200 tips in the first week alone. Eventually, that number grew into the thousands.
But even with that response, most of the women remained unidentified.
I feel like we have kind of a trend going here because we did the Highway of Tears, and, like, there's lots of unidentified women there, the national parks.
It's really
So,
it's
it just brings back all those cases we've already discussed. And, what does it mean when the only way to identify a woman is to make her death public?
and where do people know to look? Like if you are missing a female in your life, if someone's missing and you haven't seen them, how do you know where all to go to look for them? I'm sure in this situation they would know to look at the Identify Me since it was such a big deal in 23. But I wonder if they I don't know, just interesting that no one thinks to look there if you haven't heard from someone in a while. Because I do understand, like, estranged people where it's like, well, I haven't heard from them in years, but they also, live their own life way over here. I don't know. It's just interesting that people can disappear like that. Kind of makes me grateful
Yeah,
for
or,
the
the
friends I
people.
have and connections and how woven in I am because I think people would notice if I went missing.
Yes, I know I would
I
notice
would
if you weren't
notice you too,
around. I would be calling, your husband, and if he didn't seem to be taking it seriously, I would call the police
right?
and
This,
just be like, "She's missing." Trust me
this,
when I say I'm in contact with her a lot, and she's not here.
yeah,
So,
this buddy system we have is working out pretty well. We have a little
it
bubble of
is, it is.
protection. So let's talk a little bit about a US comparison. So, for our listeners here in the US, you might be wondering what's the American equivalent for a black notice?
And the answer is we don't really have one. Not in the same form. Black notices are international alerts circulated to all Interpol member countries when a nation needs help identifying a deceased person. They're usually police only, unless a country chooses to release an extract.
In the US, we don't use color coded notices for unidentified bodies. Instead, we rely on a combination of national databases and forensic systems.
Closest equivalent is NamUs, the National Missing and Unidentified Persons System. It's run by the Department of Justice and acts as a centralized public database for missing persons and unidentified remains.
NamUs is public by design, anyone can search it. That's very different from Interpol's black notices, which are, like Rachel said, usually restricted to law enforcement unless a country decides to make them public.
Behind the scenes, the U.S. also uses the FBI CODIS for DNA comparisons and works with Interpol's Washington's Missing Persons Unit, which has access to Interpol's global database, including the black notices when a case might cross borders.
So the big difference is this: black notices are international alerts for unidentified bodies, and NamUs is a national database for missing and unidentified persons.
And Interpol's Identify Me campaign is unique because it takes something normally hidden, the black notice, and puts it in front of the public, hoping someone recognizes a face, a tattoo, or a piece of jewelry.
In the US, that kind of public visibility is built into the system. In Europe, it's a radical shift.
So, as we mentioned, there was this pattern of women, almost all women, who were found dead with no identity, many likely foreign nationals, and many murdered.
And the BBC reported that Interpol received more than 200 tips in the first week after making the black notices public. That number eventually grew into thousands.
But even with that response, most of the women remain unidentified.
So, why are women disproportionately represented among Europe's unidentified dead?
I don't know that it's unique to Europe. I feel like that it's everywhere. Is it trafficking, migration, domestic violence, organized crime, or some other nefarious reason it's it's you just I think you hear a lot of, they found an unidentified person, and disproportionate amount of times it's women.
Yeah. And is it something more systemic, like the way society responds when women go missing, especially if she's far from home?
Yeah, if I travel out of the country from now, I'm giving someone a detailed itinerary
Yeah,
about where
I'm
I'm
never
going,
never turning
what
my
days I'm
location off. If my location is off, be concerned.
right?
I will never turn my location off. I don't care if they're tracking me on my apps. Fine. That means everyone is.
So, let's talk about one of the cases where the woman was identified 31 years later. In 1992, a woman's body was found in Antwerp. She had a distinctive tattoo, a small flower, but no one recognized her. And for 31 years, she was known only as the woman with the flower tattoo.
And then in 2023, BBC News reported the breakthrough. A family in Wales saw the tattoo online on Interpol's Identify Me page and recognized it.
Her name was Rita Roberts. She was 31 when she died, and she had been living in the Netherlands.
Her family had spent decades not knowing what happened to her. Yeah.
Oh, no, can't imagine. And that's the emotional core of this initiative. These women aren't just cases. They're daughters, sisters, friends, mothers, I mean, you name it.
Yeah.
These are the women that are missing.
And how many other families are still waiting for an answer that they don't even know is out there? That answer exists. They just have to seek it.
Yeah, and how many women aren't on this list? Started with 22 people, went up to 40. And are there more people kind of similar to the Highway of Tears, where it started off with just a small number and it just grows and grows the more you dig into it? I wonder if they're not adding any more, or if they continue to add. If this is like an expanding list, or like is it just these cases that they
Right.
previously identified that's part of this?
Yeah, I wonder that too.
So, another case, our third case that we're going to talk about, is the burned body in the forest. This happened in Germany in 1997. A young woman between the ages of 18 to 22 is found in a forest near Heilbronn. Her body has been burned. Interpol's case file is stark. Her identity was deliberately destroyed.
And this one is like the Esau woman, the same erasure, same fire, same sense that someone wanted her story to end right there.
And yet, someone carried her into that forest. Someone set that fire. Someone knew her.
Yeah. And that someone is still out there.
It's very chilling. I think all unsolved cases that go cold are, you know, when you don't know who did it, is
Yeah. It's
it's gotta be frustrating.
it's the inhumanity
It's
again,
the
like
not knowing.
yeah, like someone going missing and all the they're but to set them on fire is a new level of cruel. Like I just that inhumanity of it. I'm not saying it's okay to lose your mind and hit someone over the head. That I think those things are terrifying and scary and sad, but when you go through the lengths of or someone falls and you panic and you just run and leave them there because you don't want to be blamed for it. I don't know. But when you go that extra measure of setting someone on fire, where is your humanity? That's terrifying. I don't know. It's something about that extra step that just scares me.
Yeah, and this case forces it forces us to look at an uncomfortable but necessary question. When a woman or someone's identity is erased, is the goal to hide the crime or to hide who they were?
Yeah, I mean, is it because that was a
Or maybe it's
child that went
both.
missing and now they didn't want you to know that was she missing when she was killed? Yeah.
There's a lot we could unpack there.
So why these cases matter? If Interpol's Identify Me campaign isn't just about solving crimes, then it's about restoring humanity.
Because a name is more than identification, it's dignity, it's history, it's belonging.
And when a woman dies far from home with no one to speak for her, the silence becomes part of the crime.
BBC reporting emphasized that many of these women may have been migrants, travelers, or people living on the margins, women whose disappearances weren't documented or weren't believed.
So who gets noticed when they go missing and who doesn't? Yeah, that is such a weird. It's
I
like,
think you have that.
is there an imaginary coin being tossed? Like, how do we decide what's newsworthy and what's not? I will never understand that. Is it because the police feel like, hey, we have is there logic behind it? Like, whenever we look into the cases that just don't have enough coverage, we typically also run into a wall of lack of information, right? So is that maybe how they choose? Like, do we have enough here that we could give the public a little bit and they could solve the rest? Or is it more of they just pick and choose? I would hope it would be we just have
Well, I
enough that
think
we
also
feel we
there's a
can
lot.
leak some.
Yeah, and there's just, that the news is 30 minutes. They can't, I mean, if they went over every single missing person case in an area, I think we'd only have 30 minutes of missing persons cases. And, that's got to be hard on, everyday people's, their psyche to keep seeing that over and over again. But I think with the internet and social media, I think more cases are getting some sort of traction with letting people know someone's missing, someone's been murdered, they're looking for answers. Like the our water cooler whispers with the little baby girl that you brought, there's
Mhm.
I hadn't heard boo about that story, but if you go and look, I mean, there's a lot on the social media,
Yeah,
and you
the
can find things
families.
on the internet. The families are out there pushing, and sometimes that's what it takes. I think it takes families not giving up. Now, in these cases, the families aren't even reporting them missing. So, or they haven't been reported missing yet because they're traveling, or they are just not in touch with their family. So their families don't even know that they're missing.
Yeah. Well, and
I think it's a lot.
I think the Identify Me is on the right track, but like you said, are they adding new ones? Is this something because if with the internet and, "Hey, someone I love has gone missing," I'm gonna go to Identify Me and see if I can find anything or at least upload their information. Like, can I upload, "Hey, here's who's missing. Here are their tattoos. Here's what they look like. Here's where we last saw them." Like, can we cross if I put in flower tattoo and there is one already in there with flower tattoo, it immediately starts pulling those informations together. So I feel like we're on the right track if we continue down that path because it doesn't need to be that every news story has it. It's families have a place to go, So I feel like Identify Me is on the right path.
And the name us here in the United States is just that, the public can go search it. They identify me in Europe is starting to kind of give the public a little more information that maybe they didn't have before. And maybe that's the difference between like the US and Europe investigations. I feel like here we get a lot of information when they just get it out there when someone goes missing, where they were last seen, who they were last with. There's just a lot of information that comes out through the various sources. And then we here have that opportunity to go to that NamUs database to look for o- our missing people.
It's just sad. Such a sad, heavy feeling.
It is. It's very sad. So we brought you 3 cases today, very high level. The woman in the well, the burned woman in the forest, and Rita Roberts, who got her name after 31 years. 3 women, 3 stories, 3 different endings.
Yeah, one still unknown, one finally gets her name, and one erased in a way that still defies any type of explanation.
But all 3 remind us that identity isn't just a bureaucratic detail, it's the foundation of justice.
And even when every woman in Interpol's Identify Me campaign has her name back, the story's not done.
If you recognize any of the details we've discussed today, or if you want to see a full list of cases, visit Interpol's official Identify Me page.
Because somewhere someone knows something, and sometimes all it takes is one person recognizing one detail.
This was a heavy one.
Yeah, I agree. I definitely agree. I mean, I think a lot
I
of
mean,
our
not that any of our topics are lighthearted, but
no,
this one was a little heavier than most. I
and
think it's because there's just so many of them.
I feel like I'll always lean on that. Our history of cases feel like a little bit of solace in all of it, because it's like, here's how we solved these things. Here's how we came up with, like our last episode, the Amber Alert. Here's how, that's why this came out of darkness. So, why we have our Miranda rights came out of darkness. So I feel like these dark cases we talk about, the history of is a glimmer of light of what we're doing in our legal system to solve some of these things. It's just, I love that we switch off because I'll tell you, it does make this easier. But I'm really liking this. Um, we found you found these Norway cases and brought them, and then that's really like thrown us down a rabbit hole to see how other countries do it. I like it.
Yeah. Yeah, and I think it's interesting to see how other countries handle how their law enforcement handles cases because we're obviously here in the US, we understand. All right, we like to think we understand how cases are investigated and how the process works, but you just don't know what it is in another country.
Yeah.
So these cases, I think, give us a little bit of, like, a look behind the curtain, so to speak, of what happens in other countries.
Yeah, and the way they solve the same problems. I mean, they're not exempt from women disappearing. It's clearly it doesn't matter where you are. This is a thing that's going to happen anywhere. So, how they're solving the same problem.
Y Yeah, this one, the Highway of Tears, we have a lot of, cases we could touch back on, and we probably will revisit this one and, Highway of Tears again to bring light to some of those cases, so watch for that down the line. Until next time, coworkers.
Bye, coworkers. That wraps up this week's episode.
Thanks for listening, whether you're at your office, at your home, or somewhere in between. We're glad you're here.
Don't forget to subscribe so you never miss an episode.
Like what you heard, leave us a review and share it with your coworkers.
Got a case you want us to cover or office drama that feels criminal? Send it to us at coworkers.crimepodcast@gmail.com or check the episode notes for all of our social handles. Until next time, coworkers.
Stay curious, stay safe, and stay caffeinated.